Yes, it's exactly 1 minute past 9. This is Mark Bates Business. I'm Anjuma Regent, and I'm here with Masika Time, and we're dragging you here all the way. Well, still to remind you that the markets on the Zebra platform are on. You can kindly participate by simply dialing *292#, which is the USSD code that will avail you with options where you will be in position to actually buy government bonds as securities for just 15,000 Ghana shillings. Now the markets open at exactly 8:15 a.m. Run all the way to 3:15 p.m. That is East African time, and this is effective Monday up to Friday. Apart from the weekends and the public holidays when these markets cannot be accessed. But of course, that's not the big deal. You have the rest of the days to capitalize and make money. That's something which I believe it's quite key and instrumental when it comes to financial growth and development. That's why Zebra clearly comes out and says, my money, my future. And also East Africa tells you, well, you got to do something new for yourself. Remember, it is 2023. Well, at this point in time, as we head into our other discussion here, Marcia, I want to ask you a question. Have you ever been desperate to a point of, you're trying to get a loan and all you can do is give out your national identification number? Your national identification card.
Oh, well, I haven't gotten cases of me desperately wanting a loan, but then I think that is one of the ways people are using, because they know the national ID is needed everywhere. So in order for you to pay back the loan, you need that they have to confiscate your national ID. What are you going to put in as a security? Sometimes you don't have anything as security, only your national ID. That's it. Or maybe I've had cases of where not only, or maybe you have left something somewhere and you're going to pick up something, you leave your national ID, or maybe address. Those people that hire addresses, I've seen it, you leave your national ID there. So that just in case, you have to come back for your national ID. You can't, because they know how necessary the national ID is.
But let me tell you something. You know that the people that have national IDs, but they have not used them anyway, apart from probably registering there. And even some of the lines they have, they're registered in other people's lines. So I have a feeling that if you have this national ID, at some point, the lender should know what value is this national ID to you. If you're somebody that travels a lot, it is
really necessary.
You move here, you cross border and all that. And and that's why we've actually been seeing cases where these IDs have actually been confiscated. But thanks to NIRA, with this new initiative warning money lenders to stop using national IDs as collateral.
There are other securities that someone could give in other than, asking for a national ID,
Some even give out away from the national ID, even the academic documents.
Or what use is the academic?
No, man, you need, if it's a transcript, you will need it when you're applying for something. They're important, actually.
They are really, really important, but then why? The other security is giving your bicycle, your car.
Yeah. No, that's what they have at that point.
Because you don't have securities that can really cover up for the.
Yeah, because if you outweigh the value of that, what's the value of the transcript?
I could say, I could go back to NIRA and say, like, my national ID got lost, I could have another one.
Sure.
Yeah, so people don't know the trick, actually. Some people just they don't even give in originals. I don't think people give in, unless they ask for originals, I don't think people give in the originals.
Some people actually prefer the originals. Why would a money lender get a duplicate, a photocopy? Something.
Oh my goodness. But anyway, it's not, I like the fact that NIRA is coming up to say, really, this is national ID that is needed for every public service. So why would you confiscate it? Do something. If they don't have, take their clothes, take their shoes, but not their identity. Because now, let's give areas where the national ID is necessary. For those that do trade, that travel a lot, even banks, they don't need a national ID. Maybe if you start opening up a bank account, schools, they don't need national IDs. You do not, even entry of somewhere, you don't need a national ID. Except
in some sports, in some places, but of course
but a few, really a few in Uganda.
Only ask for national IDs.
Very very few. I can really count them on my fingertips. It's very few. So the national ID, even some workplaces you don't need a national ID. I mean, for some people, it's like, just take. I could go back to there and say it got lost and have another one.
Of course. Now that is something, according to a report here, the National Identification and Registration has cautioned Ugandans and dealers that is in the money lending business to stop using national identity cards. That is for obtaining loans, of course, emphasizing that these cards are government property. You know, now of course, therefore, the money lenders who have been actually retaining national identification cards as security. That is for loans issued out to individuals to stop the practice because it violates, that is, the rights of the card holders as a result of that. Now, of course, Nero added in the statement here that the public is encouraged, that is, to report to any nearest office any person who has retained the national identification card as security on collateral. Now, of course, national identification cards are vital government-issued documents, and they serve as proof of identity and citizenship. Now, of course, most money lenders in the country require individuals that are seeking to acquire loans to present, that is a deposit, and to present and deposit original copies of their national identity cards, which they pick up on paying back the loan. Well, let's get into this report as we shall be returning to wrap it up.
And it is not something new. We are simply echoing what the law provides in respect to the use of a national identification card. But bottom line is that under the law, section 69 of the Registration of Persons Act, a national identification card, once issued out, still remains the property of the government of Uganda. So even if it is in your possession, that ID is the property of the government of Uganda, thereby meaning that you cannot purport to use it for anything else other than that which government intended the national ID card to be used for. The national ID card is used purposely for identifying the holder of the card. So the intention of government is that you must be able to identify yourself as a holder of a national identification card, and that the fact that you have a card is prima facie evidence of your information on the card, but at the same time your citizenship status. So nowhere under the circumstances has it been intended that it would be used as security for anything else other than identification purposes. We all know that under the very law, under section 66 of the Registration of Persons Act, the presentation of a card or a national identification number, what we call the NIN, is used for accessing services. So you identify yourself with the NIN or the card for you to receive a service. And the services are listed there in the law, from employment, from social security services, driving license, voting, driving permits, land transaction and transfers, paying taxes. So those are the intended services for which the card is used to identify yourself. So that is just what the national ID card is all about. It's not for security. It is really an identification document. So we are really enlightening the public to beware of the purpose, so that they know and that they are not taken, so that people don't use the ID for the purposes that government didn't intend they be used for. Yeah, so that's really what the public notice that we issued out is all about. And this is what we have started. We want to, as much as we can, put out information about the national identification card. And the fact that this has got the attention of people is the first step in the right direction. That people will be able to know awareness of their rights. So we first want to empower the citizen or the public with information, with knowledge. And once you get to know your rights as a card holder, the enforcement begins with you. You will not, once a mandate wants to retain, the issue is retaining. You identify yourself, yes, But what is not permitted is a person unlawfully retaining that card. So once you impire with information, definitely you will know your right, and the enforcement will start from you, because you'll know that someone is not supposed to retain your card. You identify yourself, yes, you present it for a service, but the person is not required to retain the card. So it really starts from the individual. So ours is one, about putting out information, empowering the citizens, empowering the public with information, and then the enforcement comes automatically, it comes seamlessly. But also we did mention that in case persons get into such situations, they should reach out to any of our NERA officers nearest to them and report such cases, and then officers shall take them up. But bottom line is that we want to empower with information. Information is power, information is key, and once you know your rights, definitely enforcement becomes easy. We highlight the legality. So like I said earlier, that ours is to highlight the legality by providing information to the public. Now once you're aware of your rights, you simply have to approach the persons to return your card, because they don't have the power to retain the card. Yes, before you get that service, you must identify yourself, and which is you giving the card. But the other party does not have the power to retain that card on the basis of him or her giving you a loan or whatever service. So we have told the public what they need to know, so they have to stand up and pursue with the persons who have illegally retained their national identification cards. Police is part of the enforcement mechanism in this country. So if someone unlawfully retains your property, you know what that is. Yeah, so yes, they can as well present any of such complaints to the nearest police, and they'll be able to use the mechanisms that we have in place with police to have their issues resolved. Yes, sir. We work within a law. They have their own regulations, they have their processes under which they can recover sums lent out. So they should stick to what the law provides for them to do, in able to recover sums that have been loaned out. But in no way can they insist on having a national identification card as collateral for their security. So they can pursue their processes, they can pursue their regulations, and they also have their legal avenues that is recognized for recovery of such monies. But certainly national ID is not part of them.
You should also remember that in April 2023, the police, together with other security agencies, issued a similar warning, that is to money lenders that were misusing national IDs as collateral in different parts of the country. Of course, the police said that confiscating someone's national ID limits the owner's ability to have an identification. Of course, once it's taken away, that identification right is kind of withdrawn away from you for that time. So it limits the owner's ability to have an identification, a document while traveling and during other transactions. Now, money lenders have therefore been advised to, of course, converge and familiarize themselves with the do's and the don'ts for the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, which provides that a money lender shall not take a national ID, passport, warrant card, or other documents establishing the identity and nationality that is of the holder, and it's only bank savings, ATM cards, and the security codes for the ATM cards may be taken as collateral. That is for the money borrowed.
I think for them confiscating on the national IDs, I think they have their own rules and regulations, the Money Lenders Association, maybe, but of course I think it hasn't been working for them. And that is why now they're like opting to national ID, because I mean, it's what identifies anyone as a citizen of Uganda. But anyway, there are other, like he said, actually, the other avenues on where you can take someone's, you know, something, get security, something, whether a car, whether a house, you know, do something that can really recover that money. Plus, also you people place in something instead of your national ID. Really? That is their last option. Okay, they can take your ATM cards, they can take your your savings, you can give them as security, your savings as security. So the other alternatives, do not allow yourself to be in that space, in that place where they take your national ID. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Now, of course, as we still proceed with this report here, I can see something very interesting. Now, of course, there is emphasis on this matter is grounded only in section that is 69 of the registration, that is of the Persons Act. That was 2015, which, of course, states that unissued national identification card remains the property that is of the government of Uganda. You know. Such as these cards could not be pledged for collateral or any other financial transactions, particularly for loans. Now, of course, this notice serves as firm response to alarming the illegal practice, which has been observed over this time among moneylenders who retain the national identification cards of the different citizens of the country. And now let us see how effectual this implementation will actually be. That is most especially to the most affected stakeholders. I think there are quite lots of complaints, and you know the funny thing is that you're not even sure whether the person you're giving your identification, your ID, is actually going to keep it safe. I could pay you the money, then by the time I return back, something happened to them. Anything can happen, and which is okay because we all misplace things, you know. So it's not something that can be surprising that, oh, why did you lose it? It happens. But then why did you keep it if you know that there was a possibility of actually losing it, right? So all those are factors that need to be really put into consideration. Well, of course, still to remind you that the markets on the Zaba platform are on. You can kindly participate by dialing *292#, which is the code for you there. And here you'll be in position to buy bonds and securities for a fee of just 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Now, at exactly 8:15 a.m., that's when the markets open, and they run all the way to 3:15 p.m. That is East African time. Something effective Monday up to Friday, apart from the weekends and the public holidays, when these markets cannot be accessed. But of course, that's not the big deal. You have the rest of the days to capitalize and make money. Something which I believe it's quite key and instrumental when it comes to your financial growth and development. That's why Zabo comes out and clearly tells you it's my money and my future. And Altex East Africa comes out and tells you, well, you got to do something new for yourself. Remember, it is 2023. Well, Smart Means Business takes another break, and of course we shall be returning to discuss other matters. And now, of course, we shall be heading in Karamoja to see what is really happening in there. Stick around.
Smart 24, driving business. Say goodbye to paperwork and travel costs. Now every MTN customer can register to invest in securities anytime and anywhere with Zabu in a few simple steps. Step 1. Dial *292#. Step 2. Select option 1. Register with Zabu. Step 3. Enter your